Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guests this evening are Neil and Jocelyn from the American Red Cross. Guys, welcome. How are we?
Great. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming down. Thanks for coming down. Neil, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, very well. Thank you for having me.
Long time no see. Neil, you and I have done this before, and Jocelyn is the newcomer to the group.
I sure am.
So Jocelyn, tell us a little bit about yourself and what role you play with the Red Cross.
So I am the Regional Communications Director for the American Red Cross here in Connecticut and Rhode Island. I've had the pleasure of being with the American Red Cross for the last 5 or so years. And I started in volunteer services. I've spent some time fundraising, and now I'm in communication. So happy to be here and so happy to talk about my favorite subject, which is, of course, the American Red Cross.
Absolutely. Neil, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm the Regional Disaster Officer for the Connecticut and Rhode Island region. I've been with the Red Cross going on 14 years coming up in June. And, so I am responsible for our preparedness, response, and recovery programs within both Connecticut and Rhode Island. And then I also deploy as a large-scale disaster relief operation director.
Cool. You like it?
Yes. It's always challenging. You never know what day's going to bring. And, unfortunately, there's, always a lot of activity to engage in.
Absolutely. So, guys, where do we want to start tonight? We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Pick a topic.
I think we should start with the Prepare-a-thon, which Neil has so timely placed in his background. So we'll give it to Neil to talk about our Sound the Alarm Prepare-a-thon, which is coming up.
Sure.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jocelyn. Yes, I do have the nice background over here to talk about Sound the Alarm Prepare-a-thon. Throughout the pandemic, home fires have not stopped. Right. In fact, we've actually seen a significant uptick in home fires, especially more people being at home, more people cooking at home during the pandemic. Since about 50% of home fires are started in the kitchen through cooking. You have more people at home, spending time at home, you're going to increase your number of home fires. And so we, for this year, for our Sound the Alarm, we are still operating. We're going to change it a little bit from where we've done in the past, where we actually go out into communities and install smoke alarms in people's homes. Given, the state of the pandemic, we're not going to be going into people's homes and installing smoke alarms, but we still have vital home fire safety education that we want to bring to the communities and bring to people. And so the Prepare-a-thon is focused on virtual education. So just like video chat, phone calls. And so between kicking off on April the 8th and going through May the 8th, we are going to be launching the Prepare-a-thon, and it's focused on recruiting 300 volunteers that will then go out and take home fire safety education to people in their networks. And so they'll educate their friends, their families, neighbors, coworkers, really anybody they care about, anybody that they know. Provide them with really short 10 minutes of home fire education over the phone or via video chat, and really trying to help those individuals take the steps necessary that if they want to either prevent a home fire or to increase their chance of survival should they be impacted by a home fire.
Okay. And so that runs from April to May, correct?
Yeah, April 8th through May the 8th, we're really focusing on anybody. So there's not a specific location. It's we're trying to find 300 volunteers that will really go out and help educate their people wherever they are in the country or across the planet.
Absolutely. And I'm sure especially now with what's going on in the pandemic, you guys are doing pretty well, but it's probably been a challenge as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you, within the pandemic, and we'll certainly talk more about that, but it's just like everybody else and every other, business group, company has had to modify how they respond. Mm-hmm. And that was a particularly challenging environment given our significant hurricane season that we had this past year. Yeah. Just multiple landfalls happening along the Gulf Coast. just really significant disasters, as well as the historic wildfires that occurred out in California. So normally, as we've talked about before, when we have these large events and thousands of people are evacuated from their homes, they come into shelters, which are in convention centers and recreation centers, and thousands of people under one roof.
Right.
But obviously, with the pandemic, that is not safe to do.
Exactly.
And so we had to switch our sheltering plan to what we refer to as a non-congregate shelter plan, where we actually, worked with our state partners and our federal partners to help put people into hotels. And we're talking thousands of people. So they had a safe refuge from the storm, but they also minimized their level of exposure to COVID-19.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Neil, from what I remember, you actually traveled to help with the disaster catastrophes of everything that happened last time we were together. You were telling us about that.
Yeah, so this year I can't remember exactly when, but I think some point in the early I actually went down to deploy into Texas for Hurricane Laura, which made landfall in southwestern Louisiana as a strong Category 4 storm. I deployed down to Southeast Texas and actually rode out landfall in Southeast Texas, and then moved over into Louisiana 2 days later, and actually helped set up all of our non-congregate hotel sheltering in New Orleans.
Oh, cool. How'd that go?
It was very challenging, but I think, because we had, really great people and we had really great partners with the state of Louisiana, trying to, be creative with how we were sheltering thousands and thousands of people across dozens of hotels in New Orleans. We made it work, and it was certainly challenging, but, with everyone being sort of mission focused on the mindset of providing safe places for people that have been displaced to stay, we made it, and it was successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jocelyn, what would you like to add to what Neil and I are talking about?
I've also had the pleasure of helping out with some of our disaster response as well. It certainly has been a challenging year, but, it's really because of our volunteers that we are able to, again, serve so mission focused and be able to help communities in need. And actually that ties in very nicely to March is Red Cross Month.
Okay.
Every year, March is proclaimed by the president to be March's Red Cross Month, which means that we are really celebrating all of those that help make our mission possible. And in particular, that's our volunteers, our supporters, our blood donors. Mm-hmm. We are a 90% volunteer organization. So we have a small staff and a lot of volunteers that help us every single day be able to, help out those affected by home fires, or go to different parts of the country to serve during natural disasters or collect blood. And we really couldn't do it without our volunteer base. So, we're able and proud to be able to celebrate March's Red Cross Month this month and thank all of those volunteers here in Connecticut and across the country that help make that Red Cross mission possible.
Now, as far as blood donations go, I'm sure giving blood sort of looks a little bit different in the middle of a pandemic.
It does, but the need for blood is constant. And even though we have disasters, we have a pandemic, we still cannot stop collecting blood because there are so many people who need that life-saving blood every single day. Right. So right when the pandemic started, we really were being told, stay at home, don't go out for any reason. And that did impact our blood drives and our blood supply. But what we have done is we have, taken those precautions to provide a safe and, COVID-friendly way to give blood. And that includes temperature taking at the beginning of a blood drive, spacing out cots, really making sure that, those who are donating blood, that their medical history is appropriate and that they are safe and that they are healthy before donating blood. And people continue to come out, they continue to support because that need is so important. So so we continue to ask those who are healthy and eligible to donate blood. Your donation could save up to 3 lives. And it's, just so important that we continue to look forward as we go through this pandemic.
Now, is there a timeline that you have to wait between blood donation?
So you can give a whole blood donation, which is that classic blood drive, every 56 days.
Okay.
And we do have donors that go on the dot every 56 days when they can go.
And how easy is it to give blood, especially during the time of a pandemic?
Well, what we're asking is that people make appointments before they go. In the past, we did have more opportunities to do walk-ins, and we're just asking that you make an appointment just so that you can prepare that we have the appropriate space and that we know how many people are coming into our facilities. We do host about up to 17 blood drives a day here in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
And we've really committed to finding new ways to host blood drives. Before we may have held blood drives at some larger company organizations, but with people not going into work as much, we have had a lot more interest in local community facilities hosting blood drives.
Right. So
there has been a change that way, but you have to adapt. You have to do what you can to make sure that everyone we're still able to provide that life-saving blood and that we are doing it in a safe way. It's very easy. You can make an appointment at redcrossblood.org, or you can download the blood donor app on your phone, which is my personal preference. Easy to do, easy to check in if you need a reminder of your time. And your blood donation takes about an hour and 15 minutes as it would have in the past. So, I welcome anyone who hasn't donated blood before or maybe hasn't in a while to really consider rolling up your sleeves and helping, so long as you're feeling healthy and that you do meet those eligibility requirements.
Absolutely, absolutely. Neil, you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I would just, really encourage anyone who is eligible to donate blood to do it on every 56 days that Jocelyn mentioned. Again, it's just a great way to literally give a part of yourself to help save other people.
Would you guys mind sticking around for another segment?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back.
I'm here to talk about how we're going to defeat COVID-19. Well, we got to bring our A game. What's our A game? Here's the strategy. Get tested, stay social distancing, wear masks. Community Health Center has testing sites all over the Connecticut, open 7 days a week, and they're free for anybody, babies, students, senior citizens, anybody. So go in and get tested. That's how we can all stay undefeated.
Find a location near you at chc1.com.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. Already posted it.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Neil and Jocelyn from the American Red Cross. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Jocelyn, I'm actually was looking at some notes during the break. It says here, the note says to me March 24th.
Yes, March 24th is a big day for us. March 24th is Giving Day. And what we're asking is to honor March's Red Cross Month, we have Giving Day, which we're encouraging those, if you can donate of any size, to help us in our life-saving mission. And not only are we asking for you to, for your financial donation, but we're also really challenging you and welcoming everyone to give back in some way on Giving Day. Right. And that might mean becoming a Red Cross volunteer, taking a life-saving CPR course or something like that, and then also donating blood. So there's a lot of ways to give back, a lot of ways to celebrate March's Red Cross Month, and we're hoping that everyone can come out and do something to help our communities.
Neil, do you have something you'd like to add?
No, I think, it's essential that, as we provide the support that to our communities through home fires, through disaster relief, through, our blood services mission, that we really ask the community to help support us in delivering these life-changing and life-saving services throughout the country and the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Besides blood donation, what other programs do you guys offer?
We offer volunteer opportunities. I think that we do have some pretty special volunteer opportunities. I will let Neil talk about those disaster opportunities, but I'll take an opportunity to share that we have volunteers who help out at blood drives every day.
Okay.
They do check in, help with that temperature screening, and then help out to pass out those snacks and water at the end of someone's blood donation. Okay. And we really rely on our volunteers at those blood drives to help make sure that those giving are being taken care of. And that's a volunteer opportunity that's been around for a very long time. I'm sure many people listening have stories of either donating blood or helping out at a blood drive themselves. So it's one of our staple ones, and one that we're very proud of. Another very interesting volunteer opportunity is to drive it's called our transportation special, and it's to drive the blood that has been collected to emergency runs to hospitals and other areas. And so anyone can, of course, with a valid driver's license and some other requirements, can help us in our mission to get blood that's needed to hospitals quickly and on that emergency basis. So another unique opportunity, and lots of other ones with the Red Cross. And I know that Neil in his disaster world has a couple too that he'd probably like to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, one of the unique things looking, at the American Red Cross, and again, from my role in our disaster unit, is that volunteers in the Red Cross are not just sort of a resource that are used as a tool to help do tasks. Volunteers are an essential element of our operation, as well as our culture. And so there's not a role in which volunteers cannot fill. They just have to have the right skills, the training, and sort of the experience necessary to fulfill some of those roles. And we're talking things from roles as simple as handing out supplies, all the way to running multi-million-dollar disaster relief operations. And so the type of volunteer that we're looking for is really anyone who wants to help provide services within our humanitarian mission. And so that could be as simple as, again, handing out those supplies, or to being a leadership level volunteer that helps implement programs and works with our national office to oversee programs. We have a volunteer who is a retired engineer who came in and started as a disaster action team worker. So he was responding to home fires within his local community. And then now he is helping launch a nationwide dispatch system that will be put into place over the summer to help dispatch, our disaster action teams across the country. And we respond to, nearly 60,000 home fires a year. And so through this effort of this volunteer, he will have an impact on tens of thousands of volunteers and tens of thousands of people, from coast to coast that have been impacted through this network. And I think that's really the power that the Red Cross can have, is that, it's not abstract in what you're doing. There's not sort of this abstract mission that you don't really get to see. Our volunteers, can be out there providing direct services directly to people in need. And they can also be working on the back end to help support programs that provide services to tens of thousands. And so, but we're always looking for new volunteers. There's always opportunities, unfortunately, due to the nature of disaster relief. We always need volunteers at all skill levels to join the organization. So I just really want to encourage anyone who ever has an interest or is curious about it to learn more by visiting redcross.org.
Right. And what types of information can people find on redcross.org?
You can find a lot of different opportunities. You can find volunteer opportunities, as Neil said, opportunities to take life-saving classes, sign up for a blood drive, and keep up to date with the great work that the Red Cross is doing here in Connecticut and across the country. We always have new updates on our work, and we have many lines of service. Not only do we provide support in disaster services and blood, but also we have a very strong military international services program, and other ways to give back. So it's a wealth of knowledge on our redcross.org website, but anything that you will be able to find.
Now tell us a little bit about some of the other services that you guys offer.
So we work with our military families here locally in Connecticut, across the country, and around the world. And what we provide is not only ways to kind of send messages across the country to those who might need an emergency message, such as a life or a death in the family, but we also provide some different classes about mental health support and how to kind of cope with some of the stresses that come with military lifestyle, not only for those who are serving, but also their families. So that is something that we have really put a lot of emphasis over the past year.
And you know, Pete, with these programs, sort of these other programs that they really don't get a lot of knowledge outside of the Red Cross. And so, you know, one program in particular that is our Restoring Family Links program in the International Services Department. I had an opportunity to work on a particular case, and this is something that is worked at by Red Cross, Red Crescent societies across in every country, is trying to do family reunification. And so I had an opportunity a few years ago in which I was working on a case where we were asked to deliver an international message that came from the South African Red Cross. What our task was, it had come through the South African Red Cross, up through our national office and over to our local office. And we had to then go and deliver that message. And so these are messages for people that are in refugee camps and places like that. You may think that in today's age of technology that somebody can just, you know, send an email and make this message. But for many people around the planet, access to technology is not there. And then even if you did have access to technology, you don't know where some of your family members are that are separated by, you know, war, conflict, natural disasters. And so this message came in, and we were tasked with delivering it. And so we found the gentleman who was going to get this message. He opened up the message in our office, and he broke down in tears. And so he broke down in tears because when he was 15 years old, he fled Rwanda during the genocide. Okay. And he assumed that every member of his family was killed in the genocide. And in this letter was a letter from a number of his surviving family members, along with a photo. And so they had been separated for, you know, almost 20 years. Almost 20 years during that time. And just through the Red Cross message, we were able to reconnect that family that had each thought that the other one had perished during that event. And that happens, you know, all the time. Those messages, those families are unified, and all of these things happen under the radar. They're not seen. And the great thing about it is that, you know, this is where our volunteers can come in to help really not only save lives, but really reconnect people that have gone through some really horrific experiences, but trying to be that hope to help people build a better tomorrow.
Wow. Pretty impressive stuff, Neil.
And this is all where we need volunteers to help work in these programs.
Absolutely. Now, to volunteer for the programs, what special training do you need?
So, you know, I think it's different based on each program. Okay. And so, like for a disaster program, for different roles that you want to do, sometimes there's, you know, a couple hours worth of online training. Sometimes it's a little more extensive, but it's all free. And it's based on your skill set and your level of interest. And so as people advance in the system, if they want to take on more leadership roles, there's some additional training. Okay. But that's what we offer. And so it varies, but we want to make sure that as people are going out and delivering that our humanitarian mission, that they have the right knowledge and skills required to do so.
Absolutely.
But we also do say that the first step would be having a compassionate heart. Right. Obviously, you know, as Neil said, there is training, but there's a lot of different ways to help. And some people might bring the skill sets that they have from their jobs. They might, you know, have had a background in finance, and they say, hey, I want to volunteer, but I want to volunteer, you know, passing out those snacks at an event, you know. So we don't make assumptions about someone's background. We really let people do what they want and grow how they want. And we, you know, have some volunteers that have just such incredible backgrounds, have such incredible compassion for their communities. And we really just can't thank all of our volunteers enough for the work that they do. I mean, the story that Neil just shared, volunteers are involved in that type of work every single day. Right. So it's pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. Speaking of stories, like Neil just shared, do you have a story like that, Jocelyn, or a special memory?
I actually do have a special memory that stands out to me, and I'll try to make it brief. But one time I was helping out at a home fire campaign, and I was in someone's home talking about the importance of home fire safety. Okay. And what was a, kind of a random, we came to her home and we knocked on the door to talk about home fire. And when she welcomed us in, she said, "Oh, I know all about this." And I said, "Oh, that's, what happened?" And she said, I talked about a home fire that started in her house when she was younger. Mm-hmm. And she had started the fire when she was in kindergarten or around that age, because she was lighting matches underneath her bed. Okay. And when it's caught on fire, and she got nervous and didn't want to tell anyone. And so she was so thankful that we had come in to talk about it, because it was something that obviously had changed her life, and the fact that we were now helping to educate about that, she just wanted to join in and helped us kind of give some real life insight into just how often home fires can happen and in the ways that they do.
Cool. Well, Jocelyn and Neil from the American Red Cross, we're about out of time. So before we say goodnight, I want to thank you guys for coming down, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. On behalf of Jocelyn and Neil, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.